Hi, good afternoon. Ben Williams here, Corporate Account Manager at the Coventry for Intermediaries. Thank you for taking the time to listen into our presentation today, which is on effective client contact strategies. I'll be covering customers and their expectations and aspirations when dealing with mortgage intermediaries, the changing landscape for lenders and what that means for administrators. And I'll also be talking about the value of the customer relationship and how administrators can play an integral role in embedding that longer term relationship with your customers. So I hope you enjoy the presentation, and I'll be around for a Q&A at the end. So effective client contact strategies. By way of an agenda, I will be firstly starting to talk about the customer themselves. What are their expectations and their aspirations in the home buying process? I'll go on and talk a little bit about the market that we're currently all working in, from a lender perspective, some of the changes that we've seen and how that impacts your relationship with the customer. And as I said, I will go on then and talk a little bit about the value of that relationship with the customer, the administrator's role in that, and the need for advice long term. So the customer, probably the most important person in the whole process. And from an administrator's point of view, I think it's really important to understand what the customer's aspirations are. Clearly, they're looking to purchase a property or remortgage a property or a home, and a mortgage obviously, is their vehicle to doing that. Fair to say that you will experience lots of different levels of experience with different customers. So probably the first piece of advice we give as a lender is understanding that customer. What do they want from you as an administrator and from your firm and from the broker? The reason they're using a broker is for advice and for help and support. But as I said, different levels of experience will mean that they'll have different expectations from you and from your firm. So think about things like regular contact strategy, setting expectations for the customer in terms of the lender that they're going to be going to for their mortgage, things like turnaround times, questions that may be asked dependent on their circumstances. Are they employed? Are they self-employed, etc. will all impact those things, obviously. Understanding the lender that they're going to and the length of time that lender is taking to process applications is key. But agreeing regular touch points with that customer, could be every 2 days, every 3 days, whatever you decide is best for them, and sticking to that regular agreed contact strategy with updates is critical to kind of embedding that trust between your firm and the customer. In terms of additional information requests and information to lenders, obviously this will be very, very different dependent on the type of customer you're dealing with and the lender that the application has been submitted to. From a lender's point of view, I suppose the obvious hint from us really is to make sure that any information requests that we give you, that you understand the reasons why we're asking for that information so you can relay that to the customer. Probably a very nervy time for customers anyway, given the whole home buying process and the climate that we're all currently living in. So really understanding why a lender is asking for certain things so you can put the customer's mind at ease is key to building that trust in the relationship with the customer. Any information that you do then submit to lenders, a bit of a plea from us, I suppose, is just make sure that the information you're giving us is clear. If we're asking for bank statements or pay slips, P60s, accountants references, etc., that you're giving the full information that we're asking for and not just in a piecemeal fashion. If there are any soft facts that you feel that you may want to relay to that lender as well, please make sure that you do by way of email or document upload, whatever the format may be, dependent on the lender. If there is some critical information that you think will make a difference to the way that an underwriter views that application for the customer, please get that information from them and be clear and give us the context that you think we need around the additional information requests that we're asking for. Hopefully those things are kind of the way you've been going about things anyway. Obviously it is a very strange time for us all at the moment with more additional information requests from lenders. But if you can understand the reasons why that lenders are asking for those things, it's a lot easier to manage that customer relationship, manage their expectations, and put their mind at ease in terms of why we're asking for it. And then when you give us that information, make sure it's clear and you're giving us those soft facts that maybe you wouldn't just give us by submitting a bank statement or a pay slip, etc. So the market that we currently work in obviously changed quite a bit in the last 6 months, I think it's fair to say. And from a lender point of view, just to give you a bit of context, I think, about where we are and why we're asking for the things that we are. So lenders have been going through the same challenges that broker firms have. Lockdown, office closures, furlough, etc. have impacted the way that lenders are able to, and the speed in which they're able to process applications. You might experience slightly reduced opening hours of call centres. BDM availability may or may not have been affected depending on the lender that you're dealing with BDMs being off the road. You're obviously not getting that face-to-face interaction as often as you probably would have done with your lender representatives. A lot of lenders have been obviously struggling with things like call waits and processing times with their applications as well, because of the sheer weight of applications that have been coming in what's been a really, really busy but a really, really tricky market as well. I think the key thing for administrators is understanding, whichever lender you're dealing with, what those turnaround times are, what those call waits are when you're dealing with customers, to set expectations as early on in the process. You've seen a lot of lenders introduce web chat, more so now as a tool in which you can interact with lenders. From a lender point of view, it's a more efficient way of dealing with inquiries from brokers and administrators, because we can deal with multiple chats at the same time rather than just having the one telephone conversation. So maybe think about using those kind of facilities if they are available. And obviously, you've also have the policy changes from lenders as well, which it probably feels to you like they're happening on a daily basis. Clearly, self-employed applications are being impacted probably more so than employed customers. Lenders are relying on historic income evidence when underwriting self-employed applications. I think that's a key thing to get across to any self-employed customer that you're dealing with, that historically lenders would have had a level of comfort in underwriting a mortgage application based on the last 2 or 3 years worth of income. But obviously that income is very historic in some cases, and not the same as employed income, where you can maybe get the pay slip from the last week or the last month. That does present challenges for lenders, because clearly we are having to underwrite applications slightly differently for those customers, asking more questions about the impact of COVID on their business. What industry do they work in? What loan to value are they looking for? Are they looking to maximise their borrowing based on their figures? And ultimately, how can brokers, administrators and customers demonstrate to lenders that there's been minimal or no impact from COVID on their business? And that could be bank statements, accountants' references, contracts. There's any number of ways that can be done. But really, really important, I think, at the outset to manage the customer's kind of expectations around speed if they are self-employed, because there are likely to be more questions asked. Customers that are furloughed, again, there'll be some nervousness from those customers. Are they able to get a mortgage? How many questions are they going to have to answer to the lender if they are currently furloughed from their employer or by their employer? A lot of lenders have still been lending to customers that are furloughed, but clearly that will start to change as we approach the end of the furlough scheme in Q4. So again, something to be aware of and be mindful of. The lenders' stances will probably start to change if they haven't done already on furlough. And I think high LTV obviously is something we'll call out as well. And there are less lenders operating at the higher loan to values. For a variety of reasons. There will be some nervousness around house prices. There will be challenges around capacity to process those applications as well from lenders, because we are all incredibly busy, much like yourselves, and higher LTV cases do tend to take a little bit longer to process. So there is a lack of choice. And the lenders that are operating in that space are very, very busy and inundated with applications. So again, something to bear in mind when you're interacting with your customers on that basis. So where do you go? Where do you get the information from? Every lender is obviously very, very different. Yes, we are. You know, it obviously will depend week by week, month by month, where a lender is in terms of the service that they're currently offering. In terms of packaging mortgage applications and dealing with lenders, you know, the key principles really absolutely still apply, if not more so now than they ever have before. Check lender websites, speak to BDMs and speak to call centres and understand exactly where that lender is in terms of how quickly they're able to process information. Most lenders like ourselves have quite clear turnaround times displayed on our websites, how quickly we answer the phone, how quickly we're turning around documents, referred AIPs, average offer turnaround times, etc. That information now, probably more so than ever before, is critical when dealing with customers to make sure that you're managing those expectations and you can really start to build some trust. And also, again, much the same as prior to the current situation we find ourselves in, use lender websites and make sure that you're getting those documents to us right first time. Something that lenders speak about continuously. It really, really is more important now than ever that when you're submitting an application, understand what documents we need as a minimum for that customer type. And that will vary from employed, self-employed, first-time buyer, remortgage. It will vary slightly from lender to lender and customer. But most lenders will display that information to you on their websites and make sure you're getting that packaging right first time. Because at least that way, if an underwriter picks up an application, they have all the information they need to be able to process the application. The chances are it's going to go through a lot quicker with a lot less questions. If we keep having to come back and forth, getting information bit by bit, then different underwriters will view that application and maybe have a different opinion. So really, really important to make sure that that information comes to us right first. And also from a lender point of view, please make use of the technology that's available. Most lenders are experiencing delays in their contact centres in terms of call wait and call handling times. Use case tracking, use document upload functionality wherever possible. Most lenders now have pretty good case tracking functionality on their portals. Please make sure you're using that as your first point of contact. The less calls that lenders are taking in their contact centres, the more resource that's then available for them to process applications more quickly. So if it is just a quick case update you're looking for, please make sure you go into case tracking and then obviously following that up with a phone call if you feel that you need to, or if there's something more in depth that you need to discuss. But please make use of the technology that's available. Hopefully that's been fairly useful. As I said, I don't think there's been a huge amount of change in terms of the way that administrators go about their role. In fact, the role of the administrator actually probably is more important now than it ever has been before, with all the additional questions that lenders are asking. But that's more about the individual transaction that customer is looking to do. The true value of a customer and the relationship that you as an administrator can have with that customer for your firm is in the longevity of that relationship. But building that trust and building that rapport with the customer at first interaction with them, chances are the more they're going to come back and use you in the future, whether that be product transfers, further house purchases, remortgages or referrals, protection. The list is endless really in terms of the value of that customer to you and to your business. And the administrator plays an absolutely key role in establishing that when helping process the customer's mortgage application. So what tools are there available to administrators and to broker firms generally to help with that relationship? As I said, it is strange times for customers, but by helping with the firm's relationship with the customer, you will really help embed that relationship and that trust to make sure that you're seen as the subject matter experts when it comes to mortgage advice for your customers. A lot of lenders are now providing information, packs, emails, podcasts, etc., to help firms embed a a culture of long-term relationships with customers to make sure that they keep coming back. At the Coventry, we have the Broker's Guide to Retention, which gives some fantastic hints and tips on ways that the firms, and particularly administrators, can help stay in touch with and keep contact with customers, not just at the point of processing a mortgage application, but all the way through the kind of lifespan of that relationship. If you haven't seen our guide to customer retention, don't have a lot of time to talk about it today, but it is available on our website and it has been emailed out to anyone registered with the Coventry. So I'd really kind of encourage people to have a look at that, the ideas that it gives around setting some annual overpayment reviews, protection reviews, thinking about ways that you can maintain that relationship with the customer over a longer period of time. Social media obviously now is huge, particularly for businesses, to stay in contact with customers and provide customers with information and interaction during maybe a down period in that relationship between the customer and the firm. That could be through articles around the economy, impact on house prices, interest rates, etc. All that kind of information that you want to push out to your customer base can be done through social media or through other contact strategies as well. And just little ideas on how to, as I say, maintain that kind of ongoing contact with customers to keep you in the forefront of their mind. And we're seeing more and more administrator activity with this, because it's something that can be done very easily at a click of a button. And isn't necessarily relating to the processing of a single application. A lot of mortgage clubs and a lot of networks are providing marketing toolkits that do a similar job. So if you don't know about those or you aren't sure what's available, please get in contact with your relevant network or mortgage club. Signed off marketing material by way of website articles or email bulletins that you can push out to customers just to keep you in the forefront of their mind. And help, again, embed that longer term relationship. I mean, in terms of embracing technology in that journey, I'm not here to push any one particular brand or any one particular system, but all of the different CRM systems that are out there and sourcing systems and platforms that are out there now are really good at helping you diarise for review dates for customers, maturity end dates, protection end dates, etc. Just a couple of examples of the way that you can use CRM systems to make sure that you've kind of got that diary system inbuilt into your businesses. And again, as I said earlier, a lot of the successful broker firms and the administrators in those firms play a really integral part in managing that activity in a firm to make sure that they've got that ongoing contact with customers. So if you aren't using your CRM systems to the full capability, again, please just take some time to understand what's available and the capability of those platforms to help you engage with customers more regularly. Which leads on to product transfer support. A bit of a shameless plug for Coventry initially, but it's the same thing with a number of lenders, I think, as well, where product maturities is becoming a real kind of battleground, I think, with brokers, and making sure that when a customer's product ends, that you're the person that they turn to effectively for advice and support when a product is maturing. At the Coventry, we will write out to all brokers advising of upcoming maturities, and we give you kind of 2 weeks head start on the information that we supply to the customers. So if you are on top of your maturities and your diary systems, that maturity mailing that you get will give you that kind of that information that you need, that there is a maturity coming up in sort of 14, 16 weeks time. When we do write out to customers, if they were introduced by the broker firm initially, the letter that goes out signposts that customer back to the broker firm and not to us directly. So we are trying where we can to ensure that all customers go back to brokers to get advice, because we think that's important for them. So if you are on top of your maturities, we are doing all we can to make sure, again, that relationship it continues between broker and the customer continue to get advice in the long term. Brokers have approximately a 75% market share in terms of new business but we don't see the same market share with product transfers. It's a lot less. It's about 50 to 55% approximately. So there is that gap between customers that will use a broker for a new purchase or a remortgage, but they don't necessarily always go back to that broker for a product transfer. And the problem with that, obviously, is that you could end up losing that relationship in its entirety and all the value of that relationship in the long term for your firms. So as administrators, you play a vital role in that, I think, in terms of diary systems, in terms of contacting customers and rebooking appointments for advice with brokers. So hopefully that kind of system that we've got in place with the Coventry will really help you with that. And it's sort of coming to the end of the presentation, really. Just remember, please stay in touch with your BDMs, particularly at the Coventry. They are still all working. All our field BDMs are still working. All our telephone BDMs are still working. If you've got any questions, any issues, any concerns, or you're just looking for some information about why we're asking for certain things or the best way to package a case when you're submitting it to us, please get in contact with the BDMs or the service centres. Our turnaround times are pretty good. Most of our average call waits are inside 30 seconds, so we're in a really good place currently from a service point of view. And remember, your product transfers, your diary systems, etc., are integral for you as administrators to make sure those customers keep coming back to your firm for advice. So thank you for taking the time to listen. Hopefully you found some of the information in there useful and some hints and tips on best practices. I am around for a Q&A, so if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to ask away. Thank you very much for your time.